Namaskar and good evening, everybody. Respected host and admin family, members of philosophy family, and the speaker of today's webinar, Dr. Ratikanta Panda sir. Today, Dr. Ratikanta Panda will be delivering a lecture on the concept of world with reference to the philosophy of Swami Vivekananda. Before I invite him to deliver his lecture, let me introduce him to all of you. Dr. Ratikanta Panda did his MA, MPhil and PhD from the University of Hyderabad, and then he joined as lecturer in the Department of Philosophy, University of Baroda. He served there for a period of 1.5 years, and later in 2007 he joined in the prestigious Indian Institute of Technology, Bombay. He is a very good scholar, and people know him for his depth in especially contemporary Indian philosophy, philosophy of Wittgenstein and ethics. And if I look into his biodata, I find that he has a lot of publications in the areas of linguistic philosophy, philosophy of Wittgenstein. Then he has a number of essays on culture and value, and also he has a number of writings on contemporary Indian philosophy, and most importantly Sri Aurobindo and Mahatma Gandhi, I feel have attracted him much, and most of his writings in contemporary Indian philosophy, they concentrate on Gandhi and Sri Aurobindo. We are happy, philosophy family is happy to have you, sir, and we'll be very and we are very fortunate to have you. And since you are an expert in contemporary Indian philosophy, especially on Gandhi and Sri Aurobindo, we hope we'll be having a very good lecture from you. So without wasting much time, I request Dr. Ratikanta Panda to deliver his lecture on the concept of world with reference to the philosophy of Swami Vivekananda. Over to Dr. Panda.
Sir, namaste. Since this is Matruhasa Divas, let me speak 2 lines in my Matruhasa, which is Odia. Mu Odisharu. Most of teachers all are my Samaste Mora Odisharu. Odisha hochi mor janmabhumi. Matruhasa Divas re mu samaste pranam karuchi. Including mo Matruhumi ki madhya. Aw apan manko pai mu aji eti. Mor teacher apan mane hi mor teacher. I am not great. So, in fact, thank you all, the philosophy family. The day I came to know about this family, I was quite happy. My teacher told me about this, and that there is a philosophy family. I was so quite happy to meet you all, but could not get time. Also, I gave my topic on the concept of the world, but I maybe most probably today I'm going to talk about the holistic approach, like especially on Western philosophy. So I don't have time to take up Vivekananda fully. So if time permits, in few, maybe next, if I will be getting a chance in your family to present the paper, I'll talk about on Swami Vivekananda. So I'll start. I'll read out the paper. So at any time you can stop me if I am not able to audible or if there is any disturbance from my side. In fact, I have shifted yesterday newly to another quarter for which there may be some disturbances. Works are going on. So please let me know. and anytime you can ask me questions. But today's focus will be on the concept of the world. Okay, so there I may take off very few aspects of Swami Vivekananda because there is no time. It is already, the paper is already 8th page. So here I'll read out the paper, then I'll take up the questions if you like. So this world is not only the ground, but very survival as conditions of man's life. Not only that, a man lives and passes his entire life here, but that no living and surviving is possible outside the frontiers of this world. Although what this frontier can be is debatable. The third planet from the sun in the solar system, which we call Earth. The man probing satellite, that is spaceship, with human beings for exploration, enhance the chances of our survival outside the earthly boundaries, and thus helps us in extending our living frontiers. But from the time immemorial, certain metaphysical and other questions have bothered the human mind about the existence of the world. Is the world only an appearance or true reality? If it is reality, is it outcome of collection of gross atoms or both gross and subtle atoms? Why did I came to this world? And did I have a choice to refuse? There are many metaphysical questions generally comes to our mind. Is the law of karma of the earlier birth in the past made me to come here? What made Shakespeare to say or ask in the Tempest, the world is a dream? Why did Buddha find this world as full of misery and suffering? So there are many metaphysical issues have bothered human mind since time immemorial. A philosopher may wonder whether there is an external world or not. He might ask whether this frontier really exists, or to be more specific, does this world really exist? What if this world is not existing and we are living in a perpetual illusion, while in dream we feel that dream world is real, but when we wake up, dream is sublet by the dawn of reality. The dream is no more. What if the world to look like a dream gets eventually sublated? Shankar would have said, Brahman Satya Jagat Mithya Jebe Brahma Na Param. The only reality is Brahman, and the world is an illusion. We perceive the external world through our senses, and our senses often deceive us. It is natural to ask if the senses gives us correct picture of the world at all. We often hallucinate, mirage. Because of such experience, we tend to ask ourselves if our senses do not deceive us all the time. What if the world is a product of our senses malfunctioning? What all of this is a dream? Not only that the world has troubled Indian mind, but this was no exception to Western mind as well. The external world, with all its sensuousness and enigma, has baffled the philosophical mind in every era. The doubt regarding the existence of the world has kept on assailing the philosophers, although they were literally living in it. Philosophy is an endeavor to discover the relationship that man holds with this cosmos, and a philosopher's task does not get exhausted with just querying. He has to answer that query as well. If the world is an illusion, then how so? If it is real, then how can we prove it? This is the crux of this matter of the problem of the proof of existence of the world. Actually, in fact, my paper is two parts, so I may be able to take up the first part today, where I'm going to say that whether the question, mathematical issue, that whether the proof for the existence of world is relevant or not. So different philosophers have looked at this problem differently. Heraclitus, the ancient Greek philosophers, saw this world as a flux, a reality which is ever changing, all being, going and remaining not at all. I unquote. This is a quotation from Heraclitus. The world is like a continually flowing river, and you cannot step into the same river twice. We both step and do not step in the same river. We are and we are not, unquote. He did not see, however, any necessity to prove this momentariness of the world around. There is no much point in finding a proof of something which is but only momentarily. Buddha too felt that the world is continuity of successive moments, and beyond which there is no reality. Although the world may be existing momentarily, still we live in it for years. That means there is enough scope for continuity. Before us, hundreds, thousands of men and women live in this world. The world, with all its momentariness, was still there as it is now. Even if one step out of metaphysical stream and look at around immediate tools of apprehending the world using our own senses, we find that the world is something which does not exist in its own rights, but depend on our perception. It was Descartes, however, and not ancient Greek, who raised the question of the existence of the world. That is, whether the world, independent of our mind, exists or not. Descartes considered only two sorts of substance, the mind and the body. The mind is unextended and the body is being extended in space. If body exists, surely the existence of the totality of the bodies can be called world. It was the God from whom the two substances, mind and body, emerged. Our senses cannot give the proof of the external world, for senses often delude us. It is God only who can ensure the existence of the world. The concept of God itself is the proof of its existence. This is Descartes' view. So there are only three different perspectives possible, maybe more than that, but I have taken three perspectives. They are, number one, there is no external world at all. There is external world, but we cannot prove its existence. There is external world, and we can prove its existence. Maybe these are the three steps where I see that three perspectives, different perspectives in front of us. The most radical position that is the first one. There is no external world at all. That I'm going to tell you the first position, which is most radical. And it was by David Hume. Hume denied the existence of the world altogether. No transcendental object can be the cause of this, what is non-transcendental. The fleeting impressions, which is the only reality admitted by Hume, cannot be, however, the cause of the permanent and independently existing world out there. Our consistency and coherence of experience makes us think of the existence of some objective world out there, but whether it is really is, we cannot know. As Hume says, I quote, "This propensity to bestow an identity to our Resembling perceptions produces the fictions of continued existence, since that fictions as well as the identity is really false. I unquote. Thus, however, our perception shows us that there is a world with us which we interact. It's just a coherence in our perception every time that we deduce the existence of the world. Nothing best besides the senses experience is real, and all that we call the world is existing because we perceive it. In fact, we cannot know if anything exists at all independent of our perception. We can be sure of our experience, but how can we know if other people have same experience? At best, our sense can prove to us, but do not as a provide proof for others. So Hume takes us too far till the logical limit of his empiricism. If we cannot prove that world exists, with which our senses interact every time, how could we be sure that it is the same world that our senses come in contact every time? My question is, if we cannot prove the world exists with which our senses interact every time, how could we be sure that it is the same world that our senses come in contact every time? This hypothesis of Hume endangered the continued existence of the world. However, constructed by imagination, it may be the continued existence of the same objects which has experienced at various times. Based on coherence and consistency in his experience, he would not be in a position to prove the external world. He remarks, I quote, it's Hume's quotations: "The mountain, the house, the table, the bed have always appeared to me in the same order, and when I lose sight of them by shutting my eyes or turning my head, I soon often find them turn upon me without the last alteration." I unquote. Further, Hume accounts for only his own experience and not the experience of others. That means if there is no one to perceive the world, surely there is no world at all. That is the position he takes. There remain no world with which anyone's sense may come in contact, and subsequently the question of proof of its existence may not arise. The skeptic's position stems from the fact that the two personal experience and physical objects are different. One can be sure the personal experiences. From this, it cannot be validly conclude that there is an external world. Further, there are others like Berkeley and Kant who maintains that there is surely a world existing outside of our mind, but it is something that we cannot perceive. Berkeley considers world to be the idea in the mind of God. Thus, there is external world verily outside the confine of individual mind, but it exists in higher mind and its idea, which is God. But existing as idea does not mean that it does not exist objectively. I quote Weimar: in the mind need to mean that things have their locus within the ego. It really means that a thing has entered into the knowledge relationship with object. When we say that nothing can be outside the mind, it means that the subject-object relationship is so universal and pervading that nothing can escape it. So Berkeley, instead of subjectifying things, tries of objectifying things, I unquote. Not when Berkeley says himself, I quote, I am not for changing things into ideas, but rather ideas into things, I unquote. This is the quotation from Berkeley. Kant, as compared to Berkeley, takes a more straightforward approach to this issue of existence of the world. He first examines the conditions which can make the knowledge of the external world possible. The world outside corresponds to the condition of space-time, and when we perceive the world, our experience provides that such a world exists, but certain features of it still delude us, like space as such, or even world as such. For this, Kant concludes that this thing as such cannot prove because these go out of the general framework of space-time categories only, within which the existence of anything can be established. Within spatio-temporal framework, things comes to us as phenomena, and outside of it, they all are noumena. So phenomena can be proved through our direct experience. Noumenal cannot be proved through our experience. They are transcendental. But we can deduce this existence of them using transcendental argument, although we cannot prove it. Thus, Kant provides external world both empirical and transcendentally. In fact, the two positions regarding non-evidence and self-evidence of external world have given birth to a much larger debate and divide the Western philosophy into between empiricism and rationalism. While rationalism, like Descartes, Spinoza, and Leibniz, held the view that we are intuitively aware of the outside world but cannot prove it, empiricists like Locke, Berkeley, etc. hold that we can verily prove the world. Our senses directly confront it. Hume is the only one among the empiricists who reduce sense to extreme positions that cannot step out of sense experience to reach out to the world. That is, one cannot be sure whether any knowledge about the world as such can be held by anyone using sense experience. So rationalists are mainly criticized on the ground that their intuitive awareness of the world can be given tautological truths like that of mathematical and logical. For example, A equal to A. But tautology cannot give contingent truths about the world, such as it is raining outside. Such truth can be known only by experiencing directly those events. There is yet another philosophical viewpoints, namely common sense, which maintains that there is world verily, and it is proved by our own simple experience. And this is the position which I too want to argue for. See, my position is that just very simple, common man's experience. We need not judge with high sounding philosophical arguments to provide our world, to prove our world's existence. The simple fact that we live in it proves that it exists. It is Moore, however, who first of all took this position, which a layman believes all the time. Moore provides its rationale. Moore and layman differ on the ground that for Moore it comes as something proved rationally, while for a layman belief in the world comes as something takes for granted along his life. Moore takes up the challenge externality of the world from common sense only. He raised one hand in the air and said, "Here is a hand." The great example which Moore takes up. Okay, and puts it down. He raises another hand and says, "Here is another hand," and puts it down. While now no hand is in the view of audience who had just seen two hands before, Moore concludes that the two hands must have existed to give the audience those views. At present, no one is seeing those hands, but everyone had seen them just a moment ago, when proved that two hands existed just a moment ago. And if the existence of two human hands can be proved, surely the existence of the external world gets proved ipso facto. And I quote, "There is no need to multiple examples." I unquote. This is Moore's statement. So this is one of the simplest proof ever given for the externality of external world. Although philosophers all over the world have not been very happy with that, owing to their dogmatic philosophical commitments. So it is argued by many that Moore's proof depends upon his seeing his hand when he raises his hand, and what if Moore is not seeing but dreaming actually? What if Moore is just dreaming that he is seeing his hand, which although is not the case? In that case, the proof of Moore will turn down. As I quote one of the criticism given by Olivia, he notes it. Moore's position can be reconstructed as follows. Here is one hand. If there is one hand here, then the external world exists. Therefore, the external world exists. The warranty of Moore has for position one. Number one, the position Moore takes here is a hand. Is his visual experience. Now, that visual experience would be the same in case Moore were just dreaming of having a hand. So, in the light of such counter arguments, Moore's simple proof has been criticized bitterly in the philosophical quarters everywhere. But this seems to be an exaggerated criticism. For I maintain that any proof of the external world would be still wanting if we would just go on tearing it apart piecemeal. The criticism is an extreme one without paying due attention to what Moore attempts to say. If we start doing the very existence of our body, then the doubt of our existence would not make much sense. We can doubt certain elements of our belief systems, but not system as a whole. As Wittgenstein says, I quote Wittgenstein, we could doubt every single one of these facts, but we could not doubt them all. Would not it be more correctly to say we do not doubt them all? I unquote Wittgenstein. Truth and falsity, according to Wittgenstein, is not metaphysically exercised, but the concept of truth and falsity are admissible only in the context of language use. We do not verify and falsify all the components of our belief system, but we refer to our world by the use of our language in such a way that our language represents them truly, and thus make them true or false, existence and non-existence. The claim here is a hand is about the fact of the world, and hence it may be subjected to doubt. But simply propositions can make sense when they have functions in language. That is, here is a hand is an ostensive definition which has a meaning in the context of its use and indicate how the words has been used in the particular context. So Wittgenstein admits that this position can be doubted if it is taken as an empirical position, but one cannot thereby conclude that all propositions of this type can be doubted. And if we doubt all propositions of this sort, then communications, actions, life, etc. are not possible at all. Thus, Wittgenstein does not give the status of first propositions to any one particular proposition, but some set of propositions which can form the basis of our belief in our propositions. So this view is quite closer to what Moore tried to prove using the notion of common sense. The best proof of the external world is from common sense experience of it. And if that is held under doubt, it seems difficult to see how further proofs is possible. Dreaming is only thing which one neither can prove nor can disprove. You cannot say at any point of your dream that you are dreaming, or even that you are not dreaming. Dreaming is beyond the pale of doubt or certainty in this sense. The question of truth and falsity, therefore, do not apply to the dream, and consequently the proof regarding it. Certainty and doubt are the matter of epistemological and language dynamics. It has nothing to do with the dreams. World is to be taken for granted. So this is my conclusion of the first part of my talk, that world is to be taken for granted. It does not make any sense to speak proof for it. It would be quite absurd to call our decades of life spent here a big philosophical dream. If taken as dream, would imply our whole knowledge accumulated over the millennia just a fragment imagination. The question then be, by consequence, would it also lose its relevance? So any questions is relevant when we ask outside a dream. We never bother about what we questions or answers while we dream. If the doubt of proof of the external world has been going on since ages, it is because all these doubts has not been gone on in dream. The very debate is the proof of the external world. So external world is beyond the domain of skeptics' doubt. We can ask best how this world functions, but not what it functions at all. Not whether it functions at all. So our question would be, my conclusion would be, we can ask best how this world functions, but not whether it functions at all. So external world is the basic condition for all the further proofs. So without taking the world in this sense, not one step we can take reading anything. Even a proof regarding the world, we can ask only while living in the world. The question itself gives us the guarantee that it exists, and it can be proved. If proof still is required, it can be done with approaching it with common sense, without all the dust of philosophical doubts gathered over the centuries. So I have concluded the first part of my paper, but I take up the Swami Vivekananda's issue maybe in the future cases. Just I have talked about the proof for the existence of the world, how it has been seen in the Western traditions, how it has bothered us. So over to you, sir. So you can ask me any questions.
Hello. Hello. Okay, pranam sir. I am Dr. K.C. Marana. Okay, thanks so much for your thought-provoking and illuminating talk on the concept of world. And in the first part, though you are intending to present the second part in future program, in your speech, you have tried to discuss the concept of world from three perspectives to prove the existence of God, to prove the existence of the world. You have excellently reflected on the views of Kant, Berkeley, Moore, Hume, and Wittgenstein on the validity of the world. Initially, you have also explained Shankar's concept of world or creation. That is now your reflective paper is open for discussion. May I request Dr. K. Omnaran Rao to carry on the interactive session. Hello. Okay, Dr.
Yes,
Rao.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, please carry on the interactive session.
Okay, thank you, sir, for your expression of your idea that we should take the world as existing, and we should keep away from doubting the world or treating the world as an illusion or a dream, because we are a part of the world that we should accept. So if we negate the world and then we negate the world, then we should negate our own existence. So very nice way of saying that we should take the world for granted and we should not question about the functioning of the world. Rather, we should ask how the world functions. So it's a very good conclusion that you have arrived at. Now, I don't see any questions in the chat box, but still I request the participants, if they have any questions, they can unmute themselves and put forth their questions or suggestions or any observations that they have to make. I request the participants to unmute anybody. I see no question. Anybody who wants to put forth a question, they're invited.
Professor Ratnakar Gajendra is there.
No. Ramu sir, do you have any question to ask?
No.
Okay. So I don't see anybody.
Well, hello.
Well, we have Dr. Anupray sir. Sir, namaskar. Please, sir. Please make your observations or post questions.
I request Ratikanta to repeat his conclusion once more.
So which one conclusion?
Once more. Make it more clear.
Actually, my conclusion is that the external world is beyond the domain of skeptics' doubt. We can ask at best how this world functions, but not whether it functions at all. That was what I feel the mistake which we do all the times. So external world is the basic condition for our further proofs. Without taking world in this sense, not one step we can take regarding anything. Even a proof regarding the world, we can ask only while living in the world. The question itself gives us the guarantee that this world exists and cannot be proved if proof still is required. So it can be done with having approached it with common sense, which the common sense view I've already discussed with Moore, without all the dust of philosophical doubts gathered over the centuries. The philosophical doubts which we see all over the centuries, if we can just take it aside and go with the present world, the world as it is, which Wittgenstein used to also talk about. It is in our language. It is the totality of facts which is in front of us. We should see that. That is the existence. So that way,
it is innovative and thought-provoking. Right, Satyendra. Innovative and thought-provoking too.
Thank you, sir.
A good conclusion, I think.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Sir, it's because of you only told me that sometimes at present I could able to say something. It's not again which I had taken up from all of you, all my teachers. So you made me this like this. So I am not. I am very small creature on the earth, especially in philosophical arguments. I always salute my teachers. They are the great. Still I am learning.
We are tiny creatures in the world, no doubt. We are tiny creatures in the world, no doubt. But your research on this topic, your thought on this topic is really innovative, making giving a good direction to philosophical thought process.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Sir, I'll be speaking on Arvindo Gandhi and Swami Vivekananda maybe in future, where I can connect this to all these philosophers.
You are welcome, and I will request Pramod to make arrangement for you.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much, sir.
Sir, Pranam, sir, I have a question.
Yes.
Sir, in the class, sir, you discuss about the concept of world according to Wittgenstein. So, in the Tractarian standpoint, how the concept of skepticism introduced in the when we discuss about world?
See, in the Tractatus itself states that the world is nothing but all totality of facts. So that statement itself says that it is, which is the fact, okay, which exists. Similarly, if I again coined and joined with our contemporary Professor Swami Vivekananda also said same thing. It is that. It is not mithya or it is not maya, which is, which exists. So that is the, we can say that is the totality of facts, not of things. It is the fact which exists. So that way we can see a Tractatus, the concept of the world. But where we come to the investigation, there he says, Wittgenstein says, this is the language. It's anything which we express. So don't doubt. It is in language. It is the fact which we can speak, which you can see, one can understand, one can experience. So here is the question of non-existence, or one can raise the doubt. It is nothing like that. So it is we express in our language. So it is very much. It's the fact. So that way it can be solved. Both Tractatus and investigation. If you take both them together, club them together, then we can have an understanding of the concept of the world, which is real.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir, for your response. Thank you for your response. I see a question in the chat box by Dr. Laxman Patro. He wants to know whether the world and reality, whether they can be taken in the same sense, because you see whether he wants to know whether reality is something that goes beyond the world, or say from the Eastern and the Western perspectives, how these two terms are taken, and can you find an equation for these two?
Yes, if I see that was my second talk when I take up. Especially Swami Vivekananda. The moment we talk about reality, it's nothing. It's just, I'll just take one example. Okay, if I take the different waves are nothing but the different existence of the world, and if I take the ocean is nothing but the Brahman. When I search for the reality, it is nothing but the same. If I talk about if the ocean is the Brahman, or which is the reality, which is, then what these different waves are? These different waves are nothing but you, me, sun, star, and every existence of the world. Now, if I take the waves water to my lab and experiment, and take ocean's water, I will experiment. It is nothing but the same. But this waves has its own existence, has its own shape and size, again taking time, spatio-temporal relationship into account. It has its existence. It is real. When I ask reality of the real, which is real, which in fact is, it is nothing but the same ocean water. It is the ocean. So here I find that is, I cannot deny the existence of the world is unreal or mithya maya. This existence of the world is real, and also the Brahman, or to whom we say Shankaracharya say Brahman is the real. That is also true. So towards the end, you can find in Swami Vivekananda that both are real. This Jagat is real, existence of the world is real, as well as the Brahman is real. But this reality has some existence. I am here, I have to believe everything is in front of me, which is real for me. I have come to this earth only for the short period of time. It is nothing but the, if you take into science, it cells grows, and the ultimate growth, that is the ultimate grow, then the cells decay, and the ultimate decay is nothing but the death. So this is real, and the world is real, and the Brahman, which is real. That way I can connect, I can say both are real. I cannot say, or I cannot take up the world is false or mithya or maya, which I'm going to talk about in Swami Vivekananda's view on the concept of the world. Where both are real. I take up both are real. It's not one.
Thank you, sir, for your response. The waves are the empirical manifestations of that ocean.
Yeah.
The ocean is the it is the unmanifest, and the waves are the manifest. So we cannot have the manifest without thinking of the unmanifest. The unmanifest is behind everything that is manifest. So both the manifest and the unmanifest are real. So reality constitutes both the manifest and the unmanifest.
Yes.
So similar question we do find in the chat box by Dr. Ratnakar Gajendra sir. He says, in the philosophy of Shankaracharya, we see that the world is real from an empirical standpoint, but from the transcendental side, it is ultimately unreal. And a similar line of thinking we find in Hume when he says that when we look into the world, we stuck up, we stumble on this perception or that perception. And when we go deep into ourselves, so the thoughts come in and go out, and there is nothing, there is no permanency. So how do you see the entire issue?
See, in Shankaracharya, we can say this, you see, definitely, see, as long as I am ignorant, as long as it's just like a veil in front of me, it's just like a screen in front of me. So the moment the screen will be out, that means when I am aware of, conscious of that knowledge, slowly I am able to uncover that what I am able to see once the screen or the screen will be out from my eyes. So it is nothing but as long as the screen is there, as long as I am in this world is real for me. Okay, and the moment I can understand, I can transcend this, then only I can say, yes, that was not real. The reality is, which is nothing but the Brahman. And that is there. So that way also I find, that's why I have taken Hume also in that context. But I don't have knowledge whether Hume had read Shankaracharya or our philosophy, but to some extent that's why I put both of them just to see whether there is a similarity between these two thoughts or not. So I don't have proper knowledge on Hume, whether Hume had the concept which we generally discuss in Indian philosophy had taken from us, or whether Hume is saying the same thing, but see, they are in a different way. That I find. I don't have much knowledge on Hume. Similarly, I am not a philosopher. I am not Indian philosopher, or I am not done research much on Shankaracharya. That is true, but once one has to take up in contemporary Indian philosophy, one has to be master over Indian philosophy. Then only one can talk of. I have little knowledge on Indian philosophy. Then I take up Swami Vivekananda, Aurobindo, and Gandhi. These are the three philosophers I read and I teach. I have research. So Gajendra sir, you are great. It's a good questions for me, and this way I generally take into my consideration.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Malab, don't say that you know very little.
No, I'm small student of philosophy. You people are great. All of you are my teacher, my motherland. Because today is Matrubhasha Divasa. So on that occasion, I find my motherland, my people are great for me. Whatever the other philosophers are in the world, but my people are great for me. So I am with them always. I read our philosophy, Indian philosophy, and whatever one time permits, I write few lines and publish.
Philosophy aside, I see a great personality in you, sir. You're a great human being in you. A great person is residing in you. That I clearly see in you. So that's what is required of every philosopher, every thinker. Be a human being first, and I see that in you. Even though you know a lot, but still you accept that you don't know anything. So that's a great submission, and we should learn from you. So let's move to the next question. It's not a question exactly. It's I see a sort of response to what you have answered. It's by Dr. Lakshman Patra again.
Yeah.
He takes Wittgenstein into account. He says, when we talk of the world, it is the totality of the existing state of affairs. But when we talk of reality, it is both the existing state of affairs and the state of affairs that we may not be.
Yes, both. He's right. Lakshman is right. Good questions, Lakshman. Actually, that was the position of Wittgenstein's positions. Both.
Okay, so that is actually from the response that you have made, and he has further extended to that. Okay, thank you. Any more questions from anybody? Questions are invited. I don't see any more questions in the chat box, but if anybody is interested for any more questions, they can unmute themselves and put forth the question. We have many people here. We have Kalyani madam. We have Vijay Naik sir. Anybody who is interested for asking any question? We have Ratnakar. Well, Ratnakar sir has asked the questions. Anybody, any suggestion or any observation to make, they can unmute themselves and put forth the suggestions or observations or questions. Let us wait for 2 seconds if anybody unmutes. I don't see anybody unmuting. We have Suryakant Mahana sir also. He was there, just maybe from network problem, he may not be there. Sir, Mahana sir, do you have any observation to make? You can unmute yourself, sir.
Okay. Now it's time to request Professor Pramod Kumar Das to reflect upon the talk of Dr. Panda, and he is requested to give a very brief synopsis on the talk of Dr. Panda. Okay, over to Pramod sir. Over to Pramod sir.
Thank you, sir. Am I audible, sir?
Yes, sir. Audible.
Okay. I really appreciate the presentation of Dr. Panda. It was very wonderful, very pinpointed, very lucid, and very thought-provoking too. I appreciate it because Dr. Panda believes in common sense. There are two approaches mainly in philosophy. If we shall bracket all philosophical approaches into two sections, two parts, then we shall have only these two approaches are, one is the common sense approach and the other is the speculative approach. Philosophers speculate about world, and out of that speculation many views, philosophical views come out. Every philosopher has its own speculation, therefore every philosopher has his own point of view. So description about world is a perspective description from different perspectives. The common sense approach claims that without speculating, can we speak of the world or not? Yes, speculation is a job of philosophical. It is a philosophical activity. That's good. A philosopher should do that. But the paradox is, Man lives in the world and doubts the world. Man takes oxygen and doubts that oxygen. Man drinks water and doubts that whether it is water or not. That means we doubt the source. That is the paradox. The fundamental question is, what is world? What is world? And who is asking what is world? At least there is a person who is asking who is doubting the world. So that person exists. And that person is the part of the world. And that person has a body and mind. Body means the physical substance, mind means the psychological substance. So here we have two substances already. Is it not world? Have I come from an empty source? No, I have come from my parents. So my parents must exist. So I shall give credit to only two philosophers in Western philosophy. They are Descartes and Kant. They are real philosophers because Descartes doubted as a philosophical pursuit. Descartes did not doubt as a skeptic. Descartes says that let us doubt what can be doubted. Can we doubt this, that? In the process of doubting, he found that something is there that can never be doubted. So it is not a skeptical position. That the very act of doubting cannot be doubted. That the very act of doubting cannot be doubted at all. So that is act of doubting means there is thinking. There is thinking means there is a thinker. There is a thinker means I exist. I think, therefore I exist. If I exist, there are some causes of my existence. Then who can be the cause? Then the cause must be more real, or as much real as the effect. Therefore God exists. If God exists, then world exists. So in order to ascertain all certainties, Descartes started doubting everything. This is a philosophical journey. This is a philosophical activity. I don't understand. A child is playing with the football. The child knows that this football is false. After the game, after the play, the football has no meaning. The child will be engaged in study. But the moment he is playing with the football is real because he is enjoying the football. I exist in the world. I take oxygen. I drink water. I am from my parents. Still I question, where from I? How do I live? Whether there is water or not, whether there is space or not. Suppose Hume says, the position of a Hume says that to be is to be. If something is not perceived by others, then the world is not there. To whom Hume is saying? This is the question. Who will listen to Hume? Hume is speaking means Hume is speaking to someone. There must be somebody who will listen to Hume. Because Hume does not speak to himself. Even if Hume speaks to himself, then Hume exists. This beauty, this secret is very well discovered by Descartes. That we can doubt everything, but we cannot doubt the doubter. If we doubt the doubter, then we are the doubter. So the philosophical activity is to philosophize. But if we reject the world out and out, outrightly, that is not a philosophical activity. This is our wrong conviction. That means we are biased by our convictions, like the five blind men saw the elephant and claimed that this part is the elephant. This is well observed by Jaina philosophy, and exactly Wittgenstein said that in the language game. In Tacitus also Wittgenstein said that the world is the totality of facts. We cannot reject that the facts are there. Yes, this is a fact, that is a fact, that is a fact, this is a fact. There are many facts, and each fact is real from a given perspective. How can we reject the world? This is the irony, this is the paradox. We live in the world and we doubt the world, we reject the world. Yes, then what is the problem? The problem is that, and I am not going to details what Dr. Panda described the different perspectives of different Western philosophers, how many philosophers reject world because they do not perceive it. From the epistemological standpoint, they reject the world. From other perspectives also, they reject the world. I am not going to that. The problem is that it is the common sense that that is the world where I live in. This is the common sense. We have to accept. This, as Moore said, this is my right hand means my right hand exists. It is the common sense that there is a world where I live in. There is water, there is air, there is everything. Otherwise, I can't live at all. I am speaking means I exist. I am speaking that the world is false means I exist. Those philosophers who claim that there is no world, first they believe that there is a world which does not exist. Yes, there is a world, but this world does not exist. This is a contradiction. So I appreciate Dr. Panda's conclusion that there is nothing to doubt about the common sense standpoint, so common sense conviction, common sense perspective that the world is where we live in. But this is also common sense. The way we know the world is sufficient or not. That is the question. Here comes philosophy. World is there, but what is my understanding about the world? Waves are there in the ocean, but how the waves are related to the ocean? Here comes the beauty of philosophy, of philosophization. World is there, this is common sense, but this is also common sense. The way I understand the world is sufficient or not. Here comes Kant. Kant says, the world that we perceive is not the real world. That is the phenomenal world. Because I am the person who is perceiving the world. There is no other way out. So he says that the world I understand, the world I perceive, the world I conceive, that is the phenomenal world. The real world is beyond my knowledge because I am the part of the world and the part cannot see the whole. So any description about the world cannot be a total description. This is also common sense. The third one is that what is our problem? Our problem is not to discover or to analyze whether this world exists or not. As Dr. Panda said, how this world exists. What are the crises in the world? There are so many crises in the world. There are environmental crises. There are many types of crises. Corona is also a crisis. That is also part of world. When people are dying out of corona, when people are dying out of starvation, out of unemployment, we ask the question that the world does not exist. Is it not nonsense? So here the question comes, yes, world exists or does not exist, or the way I understand the world is sufficient or insufficient. These are philosophical questions to discuss. But if you are a real philosopher, come to the reality that yes, you exist in the world, and with you the whole community exists, the whole world exists. Many people exist around you and they are suffering. Therefore, Buddha said the life is full of suffering. Life is full of suffering. So our focus, being a true social philosopher, being a true rational philosopher, our focus should be on the crisis of the world. That Vivekananda did, that Aurobindo did, that Radhakrishnan did, that all great philosophers, that Shankaracharya did, that Gautam Buddha did. They realized what is truth, and again they returned to the world. Shankaracharya said that Jagat is mithya, but he also returned to the world to serve the people. That is the true spirit of philosophy, and that is the true spirit of a philosopher. Speculation is all right. If I am writing an article, and suppose I am writing 10 articles, I have been assigned to write on 10 articles which are contradictory to each other, but contrary to each other. There, as an impartial philosopher, I can give contrary views or contradictory views justifying each article. Oh, that is my philosophical job, that is my philosophical activities. But in the common sense point of view, when I am landing on the world, when I am living in the world, if I ask that this world does not really exist, and if I am convinced of that, if I am spending my whole life with that faith, that belief, then I am not a real philosopher. Therefore, in Indian tradition, philosophers are the men of wisdom. They are men of wisdom. They are not men of philosophical views. They are not men of philosophical systems only. They are men of wisdom. Wisdom means living with the truth, living with knowledge. The knowledge you gained out of your penance, out of your tapasya, out of your dedication, out of your sadhana, you have to live with that knowledge. Shankaracharya did that, Buddha did that, and all contemporary philosophers also did that. So, come to the common sense level. We are all common human beings. Philosophy is beautiful in classroom. Philosophy is beautiful in conference hall. But when we are looking at the suffering of the people, when we are looking at the crisis of the society, crisis in society, here we have to be a real philosopher. We have to be a real man. So I, from my core of my heart and mind, I congratulate Dr. Panda that in very few words, he expressed the volume, the spirit of humanity, that every philosopher is a man and he should follow the philosophy of humanity. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you,
sir.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks so much, Professor Pramod Kumar Das, for your reflection and observation on the talk of Professor Panda on the concept of world. Your synopsis is a conceptual clarification on the world, focusing the fundamental problems, and you have also focused the common sense point of view. You have also cited Professor Panda's standpoint on phenomenal world and its crisis, which is reflected in the philosophy of contemporary Indian philosophers. Okay, Pramod sir, on behalf of philosophy family, I offer my gratitude for your understanding on the concept. Now, it's time to request Dr. K. Omnaran Rao to give his own observation and to propose a vote of thanks. Over to Dr. Rao. Over to Dr. Rao. Please put your observation and propose a vote of thanks.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much. overall, if we look into the entire webinar, the address by the speaker and the questions that followed, and the final remarks that are being made by Pramod sir. So they all in totality, if they are taken, so it shows how important it is on our part to value things that are around us. How important that we recognize the things that are around us. Instead of doubting them, let us start with them. Let us see how they can be made useful, how we can add value to them, or how we can see the intrinsic value in them, rather than doubting the things that exist. So it would be a backstep on anybody's part. That's why somehow the scientists, they give a negative sort of sentiment to the philosophical thinking sometimes, but it is I don't appreciate that. But still, to see the positive side of philosophy, we have to accept what is given to us, and from what that is given, we should reflect upon to see what positive that we can contribute to make the entire living, an entire livelihood, entire humanity, including the creatures and the flora, fauna, everything out there in the world, meaningful. And also at the same time understanding the meaningfulness of our own lives and our relationship with the world. It is only then the world makes sense to us and we feel the life meaningful. But so it is a good attempt by Dr. Ratikanta Panda to come out of questioning the world or doubting the world, rather than it is always a good attempt to see the common sense view where we accept the world that is given to us, and from what that is given, we should take it as a foundation to understand the world, to study the functioning of the world, rather than questioning whether the world functions. If the world might have not functioned, as Pramod sir has pointed, there would have been no uniformity in the world. It is because the world is functioning and because there is uniformity in the world, we are able to take things, we are able to understand the things, and we are able to carry on the activities out there in this world. But if you start doubting the world, we have to doubt even our own self, and in doubting that, when we see in the philosophy of Descartes that he cannot doubt, one cannot doubt his own self, and the very act of doubting. So we should come out of that sort of doubting things. We should not take this world as an illusion or say it's a dream, because even the illusion or hallucination or the dream that becomes a part of the world, how can there be an illusion apart from the world? So the world has to be assumed, and it's a very good conclusion from Dr. Panda to assert, very nicely asserting that we have to take the world. We have to accept the reality of the world. We shouldn't go on with doubting it. Okay, that's a final take from this lecture, that we should be with the world and we should take on what is given in this world rather than doubting the world. So very nice lecture from Dr. Panda, and again and also the observation that is made by Pramod sir and the questions that were raised are really praiseworthy. So overall, it's a very good webinar. I should thank Dr. Ratikanta Panda sir for his lecture, and actually he was scheduled to speak on Swami Vivekananda, but he has made it a point that he will be speaking on the second part on sometime when again he gets an opportunity from to speak in the philosophy family. He will be speaking on Swami Vivekananda. So with these words, I thank Dr. Panda for his nice lecture, and also thank all the participants for joining this lecture and posting questions and raising issues, so making this webinar more meaningful. And above all, I should thank even the coordinator and the brain behind this webinar series or webinar, Dr. Pramod Das, and everybody involved in making this webinar a successful one. So I see forward for inviting Dr. Ratikanta Panda again for his lecture on the concept of the world from with reference to the philosophy of Swami Vivekananda. So, hoping with these words, I go back to Dr. Kolas Mana sir for his final close down of this lecture. I thank him.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Panda sir. Hello, Panda sir.
Yes, yes.
Would you like to put your response on the observation made by the speakers and our convener, Professor Das, and other speakers?
No, I learned a lot from all of you, especially from Pramod sir, which I may reflect upon in my next talk. Actually, we are here to learn from everyone. What way I learn from you all, the comments and the questions and suggestions by Pramod sir. All the things which I listen from you all, it's going to give me a very good feedback or help me to just write something more which is relevant, which is the case, and not that which just imagination or a writing spirit. Rather, it's going to give me, or it had already given me the stuff that how I should, what exactly the things are about which we are going to talk about which we are going to think about it. That is nothing but the existing of the world. So many things I learned from all of you. It is going to help me in future in writing many articles or talk in future. So that way I find you all are more pragmatic. I also believe on that. Let us be more pragmatic, more practical. That is the philosophy, not that which just we imagine and write some philosophy people are writing. That is fine, but it will be better if we can serve to the nation, serve to the society, serve to the destitute with our writing, with our thinking, with our thought processes. That is the great philosophy. I also believe what Pramod sir has also already stated in his conclusion. So thank you all. I enjoyed the talk, or I enjoyed the discussions as well as the comments as well as the discussion.
Okay. Thanks for your responses, and hearty gratitude to you on behalf of Philosophy family. And today we are very much grateful to you for your presence, and you have really made this evening very beautiful. And you have and your speech is very meaningful actually for all of us. And again, we wish you a happy and prosperous philosophical journey. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
More tikke khali gotte sentence kahibi.
Sure, sir.
Dr. Panda, you are a very gentleman. You are gentleman, and gentleman is one who can be trusted in darkness. ଆପଣଙ୍କ ଭିତରେ जो humility ଅଛି, humility ଏଇଟା ଶିକ୍ଷଣୀୟ, ଏଇଟା ସମସ୍ତେ ଶିଖିବା ଉଚିତ। ଆମେ ତ ଏଠି ସବୁ ପ୍ରଫେସର୍ସ ମାନଙ୍କୁ ଦେଖୁଛୁ, ତାଙ୍କର ଅବସ୍ଥା ସବୁ ଦେଖୁଛୁ, ବଟ୍ ଆପଣଙ୍କର ଯୋଉ ହ୍ୟୁମିଲିଟି, ଯୋଉ ଉଦାରପଣ, ଯୋଉ ଆପଣଙ୍କର ମାନେ ଆପଣ ନିଜକୁ କେତେ ଛୋଟ କରିଦଉଛନ୍ତି ଏବଂ ଆପଣ ଶିଖୁଛନ୍ତି ବୋଲି ମାନୁଛନ୍ତି, ଏଇ ଯୋଉ ମାନିବାପଣ ଏଇଟା ବହୁତ ବାଟ ଦେଖେଇଦବା ଲୋକ।
Sir, now your talk, sir, is going to give me so much power. I may write something which you can say, sir.
नहीं, ଆପଣ जो এই কথাଟାକୁ ଏତେ କ୍ଲିୟରଲି କହି ପାରୁଛନ୍ତି, এইটা this is the genuineness.
Actually, sir, that is the philosophy you have to do.
Yes,
what you said, sir, that is the real philosophy.
ଏଠି କଣ ପ୍ରୋବ୍ଲେମ ହଉଛି, ଏଟା କେହି କାହା କଥା ଶୁଣିବାକୁ ପ୍ରସ୍ତୁତ ନୁହଁ, କେହି କାହା କଥା ମାନିବାକୁ ପ୍ରସ୍ତୁତ ନୁହଁ। ଛୋଟ ପିଲାଟେ ସିଏ କଣ କହିବ, ରତିକାନ୍ତ ପଣ୍ଡା କଣ କହିବେ, ସେ ଇଏ କଣ କହିବେ, this is not philosophy. Okay, thank you. We all are grateful to you. The philosophy family is grateful to you. You shall come again and again with new topics.
Sure,
this is a workshop. We are learning from each other.
Yes, sir.
Here nobody is a final product.
Yes.
Every day we are learning. And
every day, every step of our life we learn. Every step of our life.
Every day we are making ourselves out of ourselves.
Yes.
Thank you. So meeting is closed. Meeting is closed here. Thank you, Dr. Kailash Chandra Mahana sir, Dr. K.M. Narayana sir, for your cooperation, for coordinating and moderating all the webinars that take place in Fellowship family. Thank you all. Thank you. Meeting is closed here.